Hi, this is Marnie Downing in my presentation for EDL 854, Module 6, Methods and Procedures for Managing Credit Cards. First, we have who is involved when dealing with credit cards. We have a program administrator who answers questions, addresses issues, and oversees the program and has a direct relationship with the bank. Then we have purchase specialists. They also answer questions, ensure compliance with fiscal guidelines, reconciles monthly statements, contacts card holders to resolve any discrepancies and or disputed charges. Then we have the budget managers. Those are usually principals. They will designate card holders, approve purchasing card receipts and forms, assign card holder spending limits, monitor adherence to purchasing card regulations, retrieve purchasing cards from cardholders in the case of termination or transfer, training of credit or procurement cards for users. Then we have the cardholders themselves. This is an authorized employee who is able to make purchases. They must follow the guidelines. If he or she fails to follow the guidelines, they may be subject to disciplinary action and or the revocation of card privileges. Now we have the what. So we have the types of cards. First, we have purchasing cards. They're issued to employees. Sometimes it can only be used at select businesses. Employees may place a monetary limit on those cards. Blocks may be placed on the card. It must be paid monthly, may be prepaid, and allows employees to make small purchases in an efficient manner. Then we have credit cards. These are usually checked out to employees. We have a large credit limit. They are most susceptible to theft, and they have to be paid off over time. No limit to purchasing, and cannot be blocked to individual users digitally. Then we have the what. So what can be purchased with, or what is allowable purchases and not allowable purchases on credit cards. All purchases must be made using the purchasing card, must be official business and in accordance with District Procurement Code. Available purchases. All purchases for school businesses, authorized travel expenses such as lodging, rental cars and transportation, and related gasoline charges for school vehicles only. You can also have internet purchasing using a secure site, being sure to obtain a receipt. Not allowable purchases on a school credit card or procurement card, any personal items, cash advances, guns or ammunition, legal services, alcoholic beverages, gas and oil products for your personal car, unapproved meals, any item exceeding the cardholder's single transaction limit. Lastly, unauthorized purchases will result in disciplinary action up to and including termination, and the employee will be required to make a payment for any such transaction. So now we have where. Where can the procurement or credit cards be used? Of course, you can use in-store purchases, but you need to make sure that you inform the vendor of tax-exempt status. All items must be readily available. No rain checks are allowed. You must obtain and retain the receipt or invoice. You can also use it on telephone orders, although most people don't do that very much anymore. Inform the vendor of tax-exempt status. Cost of shipping and handling may be included, and items should be shipped directly to the school. Internet orders, make sure you're using a secure site. Be sure you are not charged tax, but the cost of shipping and handling may be included. Retain any documentation. Items should be shipped directly to the school. Lastly, we have fax orders. Retain all documentation, call the vendor and confirm receipt of fax order, and items should be shipped to the school. So how? How do you use a card correctly if you're a card user? A card user is responsible for the following, or a card holder, is responsible for the following. Ensuring sufficient budget is available for making a purchase, buying, supplying, and services, and obtaining an itemized receipt at that time of purchase, informing the vendor of tax-exempt status, and collecting and then submitting the receipts. A card user is responsible for the following: informing the card manager of the nature of the purchases, checking out the school purchase card, buying the supplies for school use only, informing vendor of tax-exempt statuses, collecting and submitting itemized receipts, writing the account number of the account project on the back of each itemized receipt, receiving and promptly inspecting all ordered materials and services, reporting any discrepancies to the vendor, report lost, stolen, or compromised card immediately, identify and handling disputed charges, and reviewing and verifying any charges. We also have most cardholders will have a $200 per transaction limit. Any purchasing card purchase that will exceed $200 must be submitted for approval. So why? Why do we need to follow these rules? The termination of cardholder privileges. Your cardholder privileges may be terminated by the school district at any time for the following reasons: for purchases identified on the non-approved purchasing users list, for purchases which violate school district policies or state procurement laws, for failure to maintain adequate documentation for supervisory and audit purposes, such as receipts, statements, reports, etc. This includes meeting all reporting and procedural deadlines outlined in this policy. For failure of the cardholder to maintain purchases within the scope of the district account codes to account for P-card purchases. Anytime the school district administration believes the cardholder is misusing or mismanaging public funds through the use of the card. Anytime the school district administration believes the cardholder's responsibilities do not require the use of the card. So now we'll talk a little bit about our Buckland School District policy. This is the only policy that is listed in our Master Policy Handbook. So we have purchasing cards. The district approves the use of procurement cards for permissible purchases by designated employees to improve the efficiency of purchasing activities, reduce procession expenses, improve controls for small dollar purchases, and streamline contractor payment. Procurement cards may be used under federal programs. So we're going to continue talking about our Buckland School District policies. How do your policies stand up against the examples? Buckland School policies is only a broad statement which can be left up to interpretation. The master policy is lacking any mention to the steps for the proper use of credit cards or procurement cards. The district does have an unwritten procedure for credit card use. When were your policies last updated? The Master Policy book was updated in 2018 by the Kansas Association of School Boards. So we'll talk a little bit more about our Buckland School policies. How are faculty informed about these policies? Faculty members do not receive any formal training. You find out by asking the board clerk. How many credit cards does your school have? Who is allowed to check out or keep in their possession? The district has one credit card account with 4 cards. One stays in the possession of the superintendent. One stays at the front office for stucco and concessions. The remaining 2 are in the possession of the board clerk. Those 2 credit cards are mostly used for travel expenses and rarely used for school supplies. The district prefers school supplies to be purchased using a purchase order or requisition form. If the credit card is used for school supplies or travel expenses, the person must check out the credit card from the board clerk and return the credit card along with any itemized receipts to the board clerk. So now we have misuse mishaps. The first one is state college employees charge nearly $4,000 in high-ticket items worth more than $316,000 on her employee-issued purchase card. Next, we have the FBI was subpoenaed the Dallas Independent School District's credit card records from the last 2.5 years as the district continues its own investigation into possible credit card abuse. The Cato Parish School District was not properly enforcing its accompanying credit card policy even after a former district employee used a card to steal more than $260,000 in public funds, according to an audit released by the Louisiana Legislative Auditor's Office on last Monday. Then we have Greendale School Superintendent Dr. Gary Klutz was forced to resign his position after an investigation revealed that Klutz stole nearly $10,000, used stole and used nearly $10,000 on home repairs and family travel, records obtained by the WISN 12 News Investigative Unit show. And lastly, the school board learned that Assistant Superintendent Angela Smith had allegedly made thousands of dollars worth of personal food purchases on her district-used credit card. So here is the first list of my references and the second. So thanks for taking the time to listen to my presentation.